This is my camera. Let me know when you're ready.
This is mine.
2,
Call me.
1.
Good evening. Welcome to Triggs Table Talks. I'm Dr. Wilton Triggs. Welcome. And this evening, I have a very special guest. Like I said, all my guests are very special, but I have one of South Florida's most prominent personal injury attorneys in all of the state, the Honorable Josiah Graham. Let's see, like this man is hella decorated, one of the best lawyers to watch in 2021 and 2022, Super Lawyers Rising Stars 2020, 2021, 2022, National Trial Lawyers Top 40 Under 40, and the National Bar Association Top 40 Under 40. So, the Honorable Josiah Graham, thank you for being on Triggs Table Talk, my brother.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know if you know this, but your name's been mentioned on a few episodes, actually.
Word.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
If people don't know, Josiah was like one of my first friends that I met down here in Miami. And I'm still trying to remember how we actually
I think
met.
Jeeden. I know he told me that you were moving down here. He had a friend moving down here who was a colleague.
Right.
And I remember the first time we met, I think it was at that bar on Las Solis.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
It was
up in Fort
Bodega.
Lauderdale. Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
Bodega, something like
we
that.
having a birthday party, somebody's
I
birthday
don't
or
remember
something?
what it was, but we were just like bar hopping. We were at Bodega, and
Yup.
then you came through. You were like with some boys, and we
Yup.
kicked it for a little bit, and then
Yup.
we've just been locked in ever since.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. That seemed like forever ago, right?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
only like,
time
what, 3 or
flies.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, man, welcome to the show, man. I've been wanting to get you on here. Like I said, you've been mentioned a few times. Like when Cliff was on here, Urban
Okay.
Golf Weekend, I
Yep.
mentioned you. And then there was another episode that you were brought up, man. Oh, when Ashby was on here.
Oh, Bernard.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah,
That's my
man.
boy as well.
So people, like, they slick know you, but
Yeah.
now they finally get to see, like, the man, the myth, the legend, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
So, like I mentioned, man, you're one of the South Florida's most prominent personal injury attorneys, maybe like in the country, really, based off these awards and all your accolades. So, won't you take us like, back in the day, like young Josiah, before you even started entertaining law, like what brought you, to start studying law, or what kind of influenced you to start looking towards that way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, born and raised in Fort Lauderdale,
Yep.
so not too far from here in Miami. Grew up in a neighborhood called Melrose Park, which is in Fort Lauderdale, rougher area.
Yep.
I wasn't really interested in law as a little kid, but
Mhm.
then I got arrested just being stupid, being
Mhm.
dumb at 12 years old, arrested for a burglary.
Yep.
When I got arrested, I then went into something called a juvenile diversion program.
Right.
So a diversion program is where it says, all right, you made a mistake. If you complete these community service hours and you stay out of trouble, we're going to wipe it off your record.
Right.
In that program, I went to something called teen court,
Mhm.
where it's like essentially a mock trial of a real trial, but for
Right.
juveniles.
Okay.
And in that program, I met a judge who pretty much looked at my record, looked at my grades from middle school, and was
Mhm.
like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?"
Right.
You know what I mean? And then he pretty much poured into me and told me that I could be anything I want to be, and I'm going down the wrong path. And he inspired me. And then since that moment, when I was 12, I said,
Mhm.
I want to be a lawyer.
Right.
I made up my mind.
Mhm.
So when I went to high school, I started taking like pre-law, like
Yep.
electives.
Mhm.
I mean, I got really interested. So when I went to college, I did pre-law at UCF, political
Okay.
science, joined the mock trial team, and then I really made that decision. Went to law school at Florida State University, School of Law.
So you were in Orlando, then you went to
Then I went to Tallahassee.
Gotcha.
Then, and right after law school, my first job was literally at the state attorney's office in
Mhm.
Broward, which was that same office that gave me diversion
Oh, that's
like 12 years
crazy.
before, or like whatever the time frame was.
Right.
Yeah, so that was my first job, was actually working in the juvenile unit as a prosecutor
Right.
at the state attorney's office in Broward.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
so that's a full
Full circle, man. They should
180.
put you like on the little newsletter, like this was me, and now look at me now type
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
Have they ever recognized that at all? That same program?
Certain. So I've spoken to kids.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
spoken to juveniles.
Yeah.
So, and I've definitely gone into different juvenile diversion programs and
Right.
talked to kids about
Yeah.
my 180 story.
Right.
But as far as at the state attorney's office, they didn't really recognize it per
Right.
se.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. The lady who hired me, her name is Maria Schneider.
Yeah.
I believe she was also the prosecutor in charge at the time I went to diversion.
That's
Like
that's
12,
definitely
15 years
full
before.
circle, man.
Full circle.
Well,
moment.
that's a shining example that the program works, man.
It worked. It worked. It worked.
Man, that's
It
incredible.
works if you work it. I really wanted to definitely excel. most of my friends are, convicted felons
Mhm.
or, didn't go to college.
Yeah, I mean, look at the environment you grew up in.
For sure, and
Yeah.
I really gotta give credit, it was my parents, because I
Mhm.
was, like, one of the few kids who had, like, a two-parent household in that
Right,
neighborhood,
right.
and my dad didn't play, he would bust
Yeah.
my ass.
Right, yeah, 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 yeah.
I hated him for it back then, but, I certainly appreciate it now.
Oh, man, that's
Yeah.
amazing, bro. Like, I knew, like, you grew up in a rough area, but I didn't know about that program that got you
Mhm.
started.
Yep.
Is that like a nonprofit program, or is that just through the state
It's
type
through the
situation?
state. The diversion is through the state. So, they have some other ones that are affiliated with the state, but not directly from the state.
Mhm.
This one was through the state attorney's office.
Okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
it seems like a notable cause to, like, donate monies to or time to or something
Yeah, so
to
there's a
really
lot of
help it.
things that within the city I'm a part of, like the big brothers, big
Mhm.
sisters of,
Yep.
Broward County. I have a mentee or a little brother that I see, every month.
Right. I think I
Um,
met one of them
you
because you
met
took him to the
one,
Heat game one time.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So you
y'all had
met
some
him.
dope seats too.
That's my little bro right
Yeah, yeah.
there.
No, I remember that. So, when did you, decide to, like you went to law school. When did you start kinda in law school, did you know what type of law you wanted to practice at that time?
Well, I thought I knew.
Yeah.
So in law school, so ever since that brush with the law and being where I was from, I was just fascinated with criminal law.
Mhm. Yep.
So I was obsessed with the criminal justice system, and I thought like to be a trial lawyer,
Mm.
every trial lawyer I saw on TV was someone like Johnny Cochran,
Mhm. Yep.
someone who was only doing criminal defense,
Right.
and I thought like to get my name, I had to be a criminal defense
Right.
lawyer.
Mhm.
And that's actually in part what drove me to become a prosecutor because my one of my law school professors told me that the best criminal defense lawyers start off on the other side.
That's true. That's true. That's
So,
what I've heard too.
that was my journey. And I really wanted to be a criminal defense attorney until I realized that just wasn't my passion.
Mhm.
Frankly, I realized, how much more money you can
Yeah, yeah,
make
yeah. It's a lifestyle situation too.
on what I'm doing now, and
Right.
that was in part the reason. I also realized that you can still go to trial
Mhm.
as a personal injury lawyer.
Right.
You can still get be in front of a jury and do the whole presentation. That's what I really wanted to do,
Right.
but you don't have to be a criminal defense attorney to do that.
Understood. So
Yeah,
interesting fact about me. So in elementary school and like early middle school, I wanted to be an attorney. I was hardcore because when I was younger, like especially during the summers, like we'd be at home, I'd be watching Matlock, and I thought
okay,
I wanted to be a
okay.
criminal defense attorney. And I was in fifth grade, and we were doing like this mock trial, and I mean I knew a lot of the terms and stuff,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
really wanted to be a part.
yeah.
And my teacher didn't select me to be a part of the mock trial, and I was devastated.
Oh
I
man.
never looked at it again.
Well, I can say I never wanted to be a doctor. And it wasn't that I didn't want to. I knew y'all made good money and it was a great profession.
Yeah.
I just could not. Was not good at math or
Mhm.
science, and
Mhm.
I think you need that, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You gotta know how to do a little bit
English,
of yeah.
history, reading. I was good with all that, but
Yeah.
math and science wasn't my thing.
Now, I mean, I've looked at being an attorney like off and on. I mean, as I like even in residency, I was like, I could go back and go to law
You know
school.
what's crazy? At my last firm where I was at for 5 years, there was a medical doctor there who was also a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a guy in
doctor.
Tampa I saw, and it's funny because my training, we did a lot of our rotations at Tampa General. And I remember passing this guy's building, but like, yeah, he practices law and practices medicine at the
Man,
same
I gotta
time.
give it up to people like that. Like to
Um,
go to law
that's a
school
lot.
and med school. I mean, that's
Man,
like
them
what is it, eight
loans, them
years of,
loan, yeah, them
and
loans are
then,
rough. They gotta be rough.
and you could become like a good medical malpractice, either
Yeah,
plaintiff or defense lawyer,
yeah.
being someone who's
Or a
well
consultant type
versed
situation.
or
Yeah.
consultant.
Oh
I
man,
don't know. You could look into that,
I
man.
might have to. Might have to. So it's funny because when we sat down and talked like on like a business level, you were transitioning from a firm to opening up your own firm. So
Yeah.
what made you want to do that?
Man, I always knew that I would be my own boss, have my
Yeah.
own law firm.
Yep.
But I definitely wanted to first learn from the best.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I learned the ropes and I put my time in. So, like I said, I started at the state attorney's office,
Mm-hmm.
doing prosecuting little misdemeanors here and there, making your way up to felony cases. Then I worked for a prestigious law firm in Fort
Mm.
Lauderdale called Kelly Ustall. I worked there. That's where I met the medical doctor
Yeah.
who's also a lawyer. Worked there for 5 years. I realized, man, I was a rainmaker.
Mhm.
Being from the neighborhood here,
Yeah.
being one of the few black lawyers, particularly one of the black lawyers that does the type of work I do,
Right.
I was getting a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I was bringing in more cases at my firm than even the named partners.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I remember one month they said, this had never happened before. The firm got more calls for cases. I got more calls at the firm than any other lawyer, than even the boss of the firm.
That's
Yeah, so then
crazy.
I was realizing stuff like that. I'm like, I definitely should go out on my own. I was
Mhm.
nervous though.
Right.
I
No, I
was like,
understand. That
cause I,
comfort level, yeah.
yeah, cause I'm like, man, I'm making really good money,
Yeah.
more money than I've ever imagined making.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I wasn't sure, we have that. I had like this complex where I'm thinking, okay, they're only coming to me because I'm at this firm.
Right. Mhm.
That's why I'm getting all these cases. If I
Right.
go on my own, I don't have this war chest behind
Yeah.
me or this
Uh-huh.
army behind me.
Yeah.
But
It's like
it's
sink or swim. Yeah.
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 But I was surprised to learn. I mean, in my first 3 months leaving, I made more money than I ever made in my life.
That's crazy.
I
Because
settled,
they weren't taking that chunk. It was you managing
man, and
everything.
not even that. I had the biggest. I remember I settled within 4 months. I settled a negligent security case for 1.1 million.
Mhm.
And then I settled a car accident case for 2 million
Mhm.
within my first few months. And then a couple months later, I settled a negligent security case for 2.9 million.
Sheesh.
So that's like my first 6 months on my
Right.
own.
And you're like, "Oh, I'm doing it right. I'm
And
doing it
I'm not
right."
splitting this
Yeah.
4 ways.
Exactly.
So it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
Man, that's incredible, bro. That's
Appreciate
incredible.
it. Appreciate
So
it,
so
brother.
when did the personal injury transition happen? Like after the
So
prosecute?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So funny story. So when I was a prosecutor, I don't know if you know, do you know I was on a show called The Bachelorette?
I didn't know this till later. Jaden told me.
Okay, okay. So I was on, a dating show, just being, whatever. I
Yeah.
was downtown Fort Lauderdale, and this lady came up to a group of us. We was having lunch, and then
Mhm.
she was like, "Hey, you want to be on the TV show?" I'm like, "Sure." And I thought she was just capping
Yeah, yeah.
because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So next thing I know, literally within like 3 weeks, I'm interviewing in LA.
Mhm.
Then like a month later, I'm on the show in
Yeah.
LA. So when I was before that, let's backtrack. I had been interviewing with this firm I'm telling you about.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I want to get in with this firm. Man, I want to get in. And they were like, we don't have an opening just yet. Let's see. So then I'm like, man, I'm gonna finesse. I'm gonna
Yeah,
use
yeah. Yeah.
this plug that I'm about to be on national TV.
Right.
I'm gonna go back to him. So I was
Yeah.
like, listen, man, hey, head of the law firm,
Right.
about to be on TV. You should hire me. If you don't, I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna like do something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they're like, hey, hold on, you about to be on national TV?
This might be good for the
And I'm not,
firm.
and a lot of people don't know that's the
Yeah.
reason, but they're probably hearing it now for the first time. But when I told them that, they said, okay, we'll hire you.
That's smart of them though, because a lot of people probably would have been like, man, whatever. He probably capping, or what is this got to do with us? At least they had the foresight to bring you in because
Yeah,
of that. And then it really paid dividends for them for the amount of money
absolutely.
you brought in for them.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
they realized that, having that national presence, it would probably be something beneficial to them.
Right.
So I went on the show. Once I came back, I joined the firm. I
Yeah.
literally came back in April. I was hired May 1st.
Oh
And
yeah.
another crazy thing. So, and this is how it showed it paid off for them or for
Mhm.
me too, being on national TV. Because I always figured, if I go on TV, I'll probably get more cases.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
That
I
exposure.
went on the show, came back, and then I was shopping at a Publix right across the street from the courthouse
Yeah.
right after work. I've only been at this firm maybe 2, 3 months. I'm shopping. This older black lady comes up to me. She's like, "Oh, I know you from somewhere." I'm like, "Nah, you don't know
Yeah.
me." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then she kept saying, "I know you." I'm like, "All right, where you know me from?" She told me where she knew me from. We started a conversation. Then out of nowhere, she goes, "I'm shopping for my best friend because her daughter just got killed in a car accident 3 days ago."
Mm.
So I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And she knew me from the show as a prosecutor, but she
Right.
didn't know that I do personal injury now.
Right.
So we struck up a conversation. I asked her if she needed me to help her.
Mhm.
I literally dropped everything I was doing, drove all the way to her neighborhood, and it was a very poor
Mhm.
neighborhood. I'm in
Yeah.
a small apartment with like 30 family members
Yeah.
grieving.
Yeah.
Never signed up a case before in my
Right. Right.
life. I'm over here maneuvering, talking to all the family members and everything.
Mhm.
Signed them up that day. 2 days later, I get a call from the insurance company that the person that killed her daughter
Mhm.
had a $300,000 insurance policy and a $1 million umbrella policy,
Mm.
and they were paying 1.3 million, and they paid it next week.
Oh,
And that's
man,
my
that's so
first case I ever
I know
had in
they
my
were
life,
so grateful.
and I had just brought that in. Yeah, so let's it definitely paid off going on that TV show because that lady wouldn't have recognized me at Publix.
Could you imagine had you had your own practice at that time?
My God. Man, I would have made over $400,000
Sheesh.
just like that at
Man,
like 20 something years old.
that's crazy.
At like
So
27, 28 years old.
so now you more established. You know what you're doing. You got
Yep.
like your own system and stuff like that. So what would you say is your bread and butter within personal injury, like the type of like I guess like accidents or
That's a good
incidences?
point. That's a good question. So my bread and butter would be probably negligent security.
Okay.
So every property has a responsibility to keep people who come on the property safe.
Right.
So I'm talking about when you go to Publix, when you go to the club, when you
Hmm.
go, especially strip club,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tootsie, so they have
Yeah.
all that. They have a responsibility to keeping people safe. If they don't, there could be something called inadequate security measures
Hmm.
or negligent security. So the case I told you about where I settled in my first month having my own firm for 1.1 million. This was a guy visiting a strip club in Fort Lauderdale. And this club had like 6 or 7 shootings all within a few years.
Crazy.
And it's crazy they were never shut down.
Right.
My client was visiting there. A shootout happened. A stray bullet hit him in the face,
Mm.
and he was paralyzed on half his face. So we settled for the policy limit. So those are the type of cases that are my bread and butter.
Okay.
Negligent security cases. I've handled these cases against apartment complexes. In fact, I have a mediation in the morning
Right.
against an apartment complex where multiple people had been killed already.
Yeah.
I settled against this same complex 3 years ago
Right.
when somebody else got killed.
They
Somebody
ain't
else was
learn.
killed.
They
Yeah,
ain't learn their
they
lesson.
didn't learn their
Clearly.
lesson. So my bread and butter is negligent security cases, wrongful death, but I also do everyday car accidents.
Hmm.
I do
Is there
uh,
any in particular one you like to like something like, oh yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this versus this type
I
of
would say negligent security
okay, still
because
the
there's
same.
like some elements of criminal law still involved
Hmm.
because a crime obviously
Right,
happened. Sometimes it's at the same time the criminal case is going on, the
right.
person's being prosecuted. You get to go into that case, watch it. Those are like the sexy cases I
Okay,
enjoy.
gotcha.
You're always litigating. You're in court fighting
Yeah,
these cases. Your
right.
car accident cases, they mostly settle
Yeah.
without you actually having to file a lawsuit.
Hmm.
So if somebody's in a car accident, normally the insurance company, well, knock on, normally the
Yeah,
insurance company does the
right,
right thing
right.
and pays the money.
Okay.
Negligent security, they're gonna fight. They average a lifespan about a year and a half before we end up resolving the case.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there any particular laws or statutes that you would like to see change here, like in Florida or within Broward or Miami-Dade?
Yeah. So recently the Florida legislator passed a law last year. They
Right.
passed a law. Was it last year? It was last year. They passed a law limiting the amount of people who could bring a lawsuit or what
Mhm.
types of lawsuits you can bring.
Right.
They limited, for example, in Florida, in a lot of states, you could bring a lawsuit 4 years after the date you were
Mhm.
injured. So
Right.
if you're in a car accident, you could bring a lawsuit 4 years later.
Yeah.
They shortened it to 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, do I have a big issue with that? Probably not, because I mean, normally people know if you have a claim, you could bring it. But sometimes, so let me give you an example. I represented a girl who was sexually assaulted at a bar in Miami.
Mhm.
She was abducted. She was sexually assaulted off
Mhm.
the property. The person who did that was convicted and is spending the rest of his life in prison.
Mhm.
The prosecutor on that case called me, and these cases take 3, 4 years to prosecute.
Right.
Then this girl doesn't know that she has a personal or premises liability or negligent security claim against
Right.
the bar.
Yeah.
But she found out like a month right before the 4-year statute of limitations happened. And she came and she told me about it, and I signed her up. Now, if that same incident happened today,
Mhm.
she would not be able to get any type of financial
Right.
justice from that club
Right.
because it's, if you don't come within 2 years, you're done.
What if the not patient, but what if the client like gets like severely injured during this and they're not within their right mind, and then all of a sudden things get better and they start rehabbing and they're able to communicate with you, and then it's almost close to the statute of limitation, or it's already passed like that.
Exactly.
Those,
Then it's just tough luck. Tough
mhm.
luck. There's no exception. It's not like, oh well, you weren't in your right mind. You were
Yeah,
incapacitated.
yeah, yeah.
You would think that, right?
Right.
But the legislator is just like, nope. It is what it is. It
Mhm.
is what it is. Another thing, another negligent security cases. So the whole point of these negligent security cases is that, all right, the property is failing to provide adequate security.
Right.
So let me give you a prime example. You go to Tootsie's, me and you go to Tootsie's,
Mhm.
right? And when you go into Tootsie's, they check you, pat you
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
make sure you don't have any weapons, right? Let's say they fail to pat somebody down. That person comes in there and kills someone right there.
Right.
Boom. That's a classic negligent security case. You had an obligation to ensure that this person didn't have a weapon. You failed to do that. Before this bill was passed, you could clearly sue Tootsie's, and the jury would not even have to think about or consider the act of the actual shooter. Like, you
Right.
couldn't blame the shooter.
Exactly.
Like, you wouldn't be able to go to trial, and the defense for Tootsie's were like, "Well, we didn't do it,
Right.
the shooter did it."
Right. Exactly.
Because the law at the time said, "Well, it's not the shooter. The shooter's gonna be criminally prosecuted. We know
Hmm.
that.
Right.
We're holding Tootsie's accountable for letting the shooter in."
Yeah. Yeah. Keeping the
The
patron
law
safe.
the law now today, after that bill was passed, it says, "No, jury, you must apportion some fault to the shooter."
Mm.
And it's unfortunate because you think about it, it's like, well, obviously we know the shooter's responsible, but
Right.
that's not this shooter doesn't have any money.
Right.
We're not suing this person. We're not suing the murderer. That's what the criminal justice system is for.
Right.
But unfortunately, we have to deal with that now. So we're coming up with ways to hold these clubs responsible without the jury muddling and trying to blame or assign blame on the criminal,
Right.
because there's a criminal justice system for them.
Because you're right. I do feel like that the venue or whatever does needs to be held in some type of accountability, because like
Absolutely.
if you're gonna invite people to drink, you're gonna invite people for entertainment, you got to keep them safe at the same time too.
Absolutely.
And it,
Absolutely.
it makes sense to me. So
Yeah, and Florida law says they have a non-delegable duty, meaning it's a duty they can't pass on to someone else
mhm.
to keep those patrons safe.
Right.
And it is what it is. But the legislator was inundated last year when Ron DeSantis was when everyone thought he was going to become
Right.
president at some point, and everybody was just bowing to him and signing any bill he told them to
Right.
pass. That was the time he said, you know what, the insurance industry was the one who promulgated this bill
It
that
makes sense though. Yeah,
they
they probably
they
lobbied like
oh
crazy.
my god, and they shortened it, like I said, they shortened the statute of limitations. They created this bill here. They created a bill where, let's say I have 100,000 in medical bills,
Uh huh.
and I want the jury to know about that, right? And if I'm going to trial, I want them to know about that. The law used to be, well, any medical bills I incurred, the jury should hear that.
Right.
Now it says, nah, let's say insurance only paid 1% of that.
Hmm.
That's the amount they hear. The
Hmm.
jury can't hear the full bill you had. And that kind of limits the amount of evidence you could present, and it
Right.
kind of
Oh, the
hamstrings
insurance
you.
paid 10,000, but my medical bills was 500,000.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it gives a false sense to the jury
Hmm.
that, oh, these were all his bills.
Exactly.
Imagine somebody like when you hear somebody only had 10,000 in bills versus half a
Right.
million, you're
Exactly.
thinking, oh, this person really didn't suffer that much.
And yeah, think about it. If it's going to trial, their medical bills are like outrageous.
Absolutely.
So if it's gone to trial,
Yeah.
those medical
Yeah.
bills is like off the chart. Because I mean, my mom has had like issues. Like I remember she had like brain surgery, and she had good like insurance, and it was like $250,000. And I'm glad she had insurance. But
Absolutely.
that's what I'm saying. Like I know if they get injured like that, you talking about trauma activations at the ER,
Yes.
prolonged
Yep.
ICUs,
Yep.
rehab.
Yep.
My brother had a stroke at 33. He was in rehab for like 6 days. The bill was like, that's 15 grand right there. And that was straight out of pocket,
Yeah.
my pocket. So,
Wow.
that
How
yeah,
do you
that's
have a
crazy.
stroke?
Hmm.
How do you have a stroke?
Chronic high blood pressure, and we didn't know.
Oh,
He never had like any symptoms. And then the weekend of Easter, the day before Easter, he was
yeah.
down here in Miami with some of my other folks. And
Oh, this was when you were down here.
yeah, yeah, man. We had just finished having brunch. I was taking the twins to go see the Super Mario
Yeah.
Brothers movie, and my aunt called me. It was like, I think your brother's having a stroke. He's in the ambulance, and so I took my twins to them, and then I went to Jackson Memorial,
Yeah.
and he was in the neuro ICU for a couple of days, then on the floor, and then went to inpatient rehab, and I was like, he's gonna get the best, and so I wrote the
Yeah.
check for everything.
Wow.
But I tell you how the Lord works, man. They scrubbed his medical bill. They didn't charge him at all. He
Really?
didn't he like they I guess it was some type of law or some I don't know what it was, but they did not.
That was God.
Yeah, like he
For
did not
real.
get a medical bill. It was like zeroed out. The
Oh,
only thing we
wow.
paid for or I paid for was his rehab. His rehab.
That's
And then
amazing.
I flew him back to
How's he
Alabama.
doing now?
Oh, he's fine. You can't even tell he has any deficits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's good, man. He's back chefing it up.
Chronic high blood pressure.
Yeah, man. That's why
Never
they call
heard
it a silent killer. Because you don't have any symptoms of high blood pressure for the most part.
Okay.
Some people get headaches, some
Yeah.
people have vision changes, but it's just like one of those things that, oh, I'm just tired. You know?
Got you.
So
Got
it
you.
mimics a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, man. We got to make sure we get checked out.
But oh man, I had to ask you this question. So what would you say is or was your favorite case to try? It doesn't matter where it was money wise or intellectually
Man.
stimulating. Like, what was like your favorite case to try so far in your career?
I would say my favorite case, and it didn't go to trial, thank God. But a friend of mine, Jeffrey Brown, he was shot and killed at an apartment complex in Lauderhill.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why this was my favorite case because it's actually somebody I was close with,
Right.
who was killed over there. I went to middle school with him. I ultimately was able to settle against the apartment complex for $2 million,
Mm-hmm.
and the $2 million, most of it went to his 3 kids,
Okay.
who were all young kids.
Right.
And it really, this is the one that really got me recognition for doing negligent security
Mm-hmm.
because I was on the front page of something called the Daily Business Review.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this was actually my first negligent security case.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was at my former firm, and from that case came an influx of more negligent security cases. So this was my baby. It was I spent so much time
Mm-hmm.
working on it.
Right.
Like it happened in such a dangerous neighborhood. So most people send like a criminal investigator to
Mm-hmm.
go talk to people. I went there myself.
Right.
I went there myself.
So you super
I went
hands-on.
straight to the hood, and I mean there was shootings going around when I was over there across the street. But I was over
Sheesh.
there talking to people, interviewing witnesses, and when you go there yourself, it's different as opposed to reading a report from someone else
Right.
and talking to people who actually helped me get evidence to prove my theory of my case.
And you probably wouldn't have got as much evidence using someone
Some
else.
investigator.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to
They
your
see someone that looks like them that's trying to do what's
Yeah.
right. They're gonna
Yep.
be like, all right, well, this is
Oh, they open up to me, and it wasn't like it was snitching because
Right.
I wasn't the police.
right.
And I'm like, it's not like, oh, somebody's going to again. I'm telling them, listen, I have a claim against this
Yeah.
complex.
We're trying to
Based-
go for the money. Yeah,
Once they
it's-
heard that,
Yeah.
it's almost like they thought they was getting some money.
Right, exactly.
So,
No,
yeah,
I get it.
oh, you need to know about this. We told them about this
Yeah.
gate here. And they never fixed the gate.
Right.
Oh, those cameras don't
We've
work.
been telling them about this.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
get
it
them
was-
because they're about to
yeah.
get them at that point. No,
I mean,
get
they
it.
helped me so much, and then we settled for the policy limit, meaning that was the most the insurance could pay,
Mhm.
which was $2 million.
Yeah.
So that was my favorite case because it was somebody who was a dear friend of mine since middle school, and I was able to help his family.
Let me. I know this ain't even on, but a like someone that's pre-law or in law school. When you say like I put so much work into it, kind of explain that to people that aren't like really like within the law field. What does that entail? Like reading
Sure.
or what are you
So,
doing?
it could be number one, and negligence. Let me use this for example: negligent security. You want to know what type of property you're dealing with, right?
Right.
So I'm calling the police station,
Yeah.
right, and I'm getting a crime grid for that property.
Right.
Now I'm finding out all the crimes that have happened in the area.
Mhm.
Number two, I'm getting all the police reports associated with this property.
Okay.
In this case, it meant thousands of
Mhm.
police reports.
Sheesh.
I'm reading every single police report. It's
Right.
going to take me several days combing through, you find little nuggets. I might
Right.
find a police report where an officer says, oh, I responded to this shooting at this place. However, I was unable to find any suspects because there are no cameras here. Right.
Like ding, ding,
That,
ding. Yeah.
that same police report may say, well, I spoke to some management and told them, and it's maybe 4 years before my incident,
Mhm.
hey, you guys probably should get some type of cameras.
Right.
Right. So I'm looking for that, that needle in the haystack,
Yeah.
going through combing through documents to show stuff which shows that number one, they knew crime was happening there.
Yep.
And number two, they were on notice that they could have done something differently.
Mm.
Right. So I'm going through all of that. I'm hiring an expert witness. I'm sitting down with an expert witness, uh, criminologist,
Right.
and I'm having him look at the police reports and the facts of my case to find out what happened. I'm fighting with the defense. Defense
Mhm.
is probably trying to a motion to continue the trial for
Right.
a year from now.
Right. Right.
And for them, the insurance company, they know they're gonna pay. They're trying to
Right.
stall it.
Mhm. Exactly.
Hopefully something comes up in the criminal case that makes my
Mhm.
case look bad.
Right. Right.
Hopefully that, this guy who got killed, who I said Jeffrey Brown,
Yeah.
they're hoping to find something to say, he was selling drugs, he was selling dope. That's why he got killed.
Right.
Because they always assume that
Yeah.
when it's
Yeah.
somebody who looks like us who was
Mhm.
killed, he was up to no good.
Right.
So it's the constant battle with the other side. I had a hearing where they moved to compel the production of the complete criminal file,
Mhm.
right? And it's unrelated to our case. My case
Right.
is a civil case. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not prosecuting anyone. But just those little things.
Mhm.
Taking depositions.
Yeah.
So and now that I have these police reports, now that I have this little nugget where it says I spoke with this manager, now I'm finding out who was the manager at that time.
Right.
Okay, and I found out the manager. Now you sitting down here, sir. Now I have a court reporter,
Yeah.
and now I got a videographer. You see these
Yeah.
videos
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
I got them on video because
Right.
this is going to be played at trial. Okay, well, let's just hear when the officer told you on this date that you probably should install cameras.
Mhm.
Did you do that? No.
Right.
Why didn't you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are the things. So I'm taking 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 depositions.
Yeah.
Ordering all these police reports.
Those depositions are not are long too. They
They're
can be long,
My
man.
longest in the case with Jeffrey Brown was 8 hours.
Sheesh.
It was an 8-hour deposition. And it was with the owner of this apartment complex.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they were screwed. They literally paid their policy limits a week after that deposition.
Oh, they were like, yeah, it's a wrap. We
Yeah,
need
it
to stop
was
playing
just-
around.
there
We're
was
wasting money right
There
now.
was nothing they could do. So to work up a case, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Those are some of the things that go into working up a case.
Gotcha. Well, this is the type of information that you can only see, well, not only see, but that you get on Triggs Table Talk. I mean, if you pre-law or law school or have any interest in being an attorney or in the law, I mean, this is a great podcast. Don't forget to like, click, subscribe, share this podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are here with the Honorable Josiah Graham, personal injury attorney extraordinaire, and we're about to do some tricky Triggs trivia. I don't have any money for you, brother, because I mean, you balling like so. You know, so let me hold $5.
So I'm trying to get like you, man.
No, man, I'm broke over here.
Yeah. Don't you got like a Maybach or something?
No,
or like a Phantom?
I got a
Rolls
RR, something like that.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Rags to riches.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, man. So my first question is going to be plastic surgery related.
Okay.
Do you know in the state of Florida how much fat you can take in the state of Florida during liposuction?
Yes, you can take up to 4,000 cc's.
Yeah, that's right. 4 liters. If you're doing it in combination with like a cutting procedure,
Then
like
it's only 1,000.
yeah,
I believe.
exactly. And it's crazy because as popular as plastic surgery here is in Florida, if when I practiced in Ohio, when I was in the hospital system, I think we could take up to 5 liters.
Really?
Different states,
Have different rules.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I remember having a patient. She was like, "Well, I talked to the Mayo Clinic, and you can take it." I was like, "No, that's a different state.
This
baby.
ain't
Different
Florida
state.
here.
Like, you ain't better hurt my license."
Yep.
True or false? Do we have to use ultrasound while injecting fat for Brazilian butt lifts or fat transfer to the buttocks?
That is true.
That
That's
is true.
actually recently true.
Mhm,
That's
exactly.
something
I
that was
think it's-
implemented within the last year or two.
Yeah, within the year.
Yep.
Yeah, because it happened like last July. Some people were already doing it, but yeah, it's the safest way to do it. It just makes things
Absolutely.
clear. Like you don't have to guess or anything
You
like
know
that.
where everything's at.
Exactly.
Because I think there was some issues with injecting the fat into like some muscle sometimes. But
So back in the day when the procedure was first being performed or they were doing it, the blood supply was in the muscles. So they were injecting fat in the muscle, but the numbers were a lot lower. People weren't getting BBLs like that. It was like a few. So there was no like a lot of deaths or anything like that. And so you would put the fat in the muscle, the fat would have a greater take. So people weren't getting second or third round BBLs. They would basically be one and done. But as the popularity of the procedure grew, that means like, increased numbers and, some people aren't as well trained.
Yep.
And they were putting that fat in the muscle. And the thing is that fat gets in the veins and takes it up to the heart. And that's how people were dying.
Embolisms and kind of.
But yeah, you can put it above the muscle, be completely safe. Now you may not have as much fat take, so you may have to get a second or third round depending on how big you want to be.
Exactly.
But you're safe.
Let me ask you. Hold on. I'm finna finish your trivia.
Yeah,
My bad.
The third question, how long should a patient have to wait for a breast procedure after having a baby? This is kind of a tricky question
Oh
because this
man.
this varies surgeon to surgeon.
I
So
would
don't even
say I would say I would say recommendation about 2 years?
no, you can do it like 8 months.
8 months
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
breast reduction, you said?
Yeah, or just any type of breast procedure.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay, 8
after
months, 8
breast.
months,
Some
8
I
months,
think
8
some
months.
surgeons will even wait up to a year after breastfeeding, but yeah, give it time for those ducts to kind of like close up
Okay.
and cuts down on the risk of
Hey, 2 out of
infection.
3 ain't bad,
Hey,
man.
man, you did pretty good, bro. We knew you was gonna get the law ones.
Yeah, yeah,
We weren't
yeah,
even worried about
yeah.
that. But you had a question?
What was my question? It was on
That's it.
what BBLs.
Yeah.
What is your take on, like, let's say a woman comes in there. Do you ever have conversations where with a young lady and you say, what you're seeking is a little unrealistic, or
Oh,
I try
absolutely.
to manage their
Man,
expectations?
absolutely. Like if I feel like I can't accomplish what they're seeking, I'll refer them out. Because
Okay,
I think my duty is I have to be able to refer them or something like that.
got you.
But yeah, I'll straight up tell them, I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I'll be like, in my hands, I don't think I can achieve that result.
Okay.
And here's
And what
some
you
other
really
guys you
mean
too.
that is that it's unachievable, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes they can't take that.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And then you also have to like look for like clues on if they're doing it for the right reasons.
Okay.
Do they maybe have some type of psychiatric component, like maybe
That's a
body
good point. Yeah, yeah,
dysmorphic
that's true. That's
disorder,
true.
to where they're just like every little thing looks wrong when it's actually they look fine.
Okay.
So, because once you operate on those people, you're responsible for everything.
Absolutely,
No
absolutely.
matter how small it looks. So yeah, I'm very honest,
Okay.
very honest.
I
Sometimes I'm
was
too honest, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
my coordinators were
I
like,
mean,
"You
you
got to be
gotta be.
nicer."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But better, the bedside manner?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm like, "No, I'm just keeping it real with you, like,
Okay,
because I don't
okay.
want you to try to get me."
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Dr. Graham. You made it through the Tricky Tricks trivia.
Okay,
You did pretty good, man. 2 out
okay.
of 3, man. If it was $1 million question,
Yeah, man, I'll be
you've
up
been
there.
up here. You could probably take a little South of France vacation.
Yeah.
All right, man. So jumping into some more personal questions, what's like one of the biggest cases you've worked on? Whether that's money wise or
Okay.
just like the amount of time that you really had to put in to get the result that you wanted,
One of the
or
biggest
more satisfying.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to explain this one without going into some confidential details
Yeah,
because a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
Of
these
course, yeah, yeah,
cases have confidentiality
yeah. It's like
clauses.
HIPAA with us. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say the biggest one I've worked on was against a ride sharing company. I can't
Mhm.
say which one.
Yeah.
And when I say ride sharing, I mean you think of Ubers,
Yeah.
Lyft, those type
Mhm.
of things,
But there's
DoorDash.
smaller ones too.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
smaller ones. And there was someone who was driving for one of these companies and he had I mean, when I say the worst traffic record,
Mhm.
it's like, how do you even have a license?
Right.
And to the fact that he was working for a company where their whole job is to be driving
Right.
for other people. And he ran over a 19-year-old beautiful black girl in South Florida. And what made this case, which got headlines, is that this lady almost lost her daughter in a tragedy that wrecked South Florida
Mhm.
in recent years, and I can't go into
Yeah, right, right.
specifics, but she escaped that tragedy. This girl
Mhm.
escaped that tragedy only to be killed by this reckless driver
Right.
years later.
Right.
So they paid a substantial sum of money
Right.
to her mother, and it was my saddest case because I've never saw someone as distraught as I
Right.
saw her mother.
Right.
My dealings weren't even with her.
Mhm.
It was with her sister. She let her
Yeah.
sister serve as the personal representative
Right.
of her daughter's estate
Right.
because I mean, she needed psychiatric, all type of treatment and help because she was going through a lot.
Right.
It was sad to see that.
I'm glad you said that because I like as you were telling that story, I'm thinking like, man, how are you dealing with these type of traumas? Even though you're not personally involved, but I know at
Yeah.
some point, like you get to know these people.
Yep.
You maybe having dinner or
Yep. Yep.
lunch, or you spend a considerable amount of time like sharing your expertise with these people. Like, how do you take care of your own like mental health, or how
That
do
n-
you keep like to be able to stay focused or compartmentalize that type of like hearing
so
these
yeah,
stories?
I'm gonna be real. Before I had my son Christian, who's 3 years old
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
it was a lot easier.
yeah,
It was a lot easier
yeah.
because you could sympathize, but it was hard to really empathize.
Mhm,
But now when I see these cases of someone losing a child in the
mhm.
way they do, it's tough, man. Sometimes, talk about it. I was
Yeah,
talking to my wife about a case. So I have a
yeah,
mediation tomorrow on a
right.
case, and I was letting her see my presentation of what she thinks.
Right.
And there's a video
Because your
of a
wife also has a Juris Doctorate.
absolutely.
Yep.
She went to Nova Law.
Yep.
Get
There you go.
Nova Law
Yeah,
right
yeah.
down here.
Yeah, got to
Two
shout out to Doc.
JDs in the
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
So and it's just tough, man. It's tough. So I don't have an answer as far as what do I do other than I don't know, decompress, go read, go jog, exercise or something.
Right,
And it's
right.
just it's tough, man. It's tough.
It seems like, because I'm hearing these stories, I'm like, dang, that's wrong. I don't know if I can hear
Yeah.
this every day,
But it
bro.
really comes with the line of work.
Yeah,
It's something
no.
I signed up for, so I don't, I don't shy away from it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Any favorite clients or celebrity clients that you remember working with, and was it easy working with them, or was it made it more difficult? Because I know for me, like dealing with any type of celebrity or influencer, it's like it'd be like, oh, you should work on such and such. Man, I don't know if I want that, because
Man.
they have one little thing wrong, they
Yeah.
blowing you up. And stuff like
My
that,
God, I can
Like,
only
it's
imagine.
a-
You on the
it's a-
shade
it's a
room?
exactly, it's a double-edged sword. Say it's good, it can
Yeah,
be bad
yeah,
at the same time.
Celebrity clients. I haven't had any my last firm, right before I left my last firm, the partner I was working with was retained by Flow Rider.
Mhm.
And he just got like a
For the
80
Celsius case?
So they hit for like 90 million or something.
Yeah, crazy.
Which a lot of people, who were not lawyers, they see that. I'm like, oh, they just got 90 million.
Mhm.
There's an appellate process, which they're
Yeah.
still going through right now.
Right.
Nobody's gotten any money yet.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's going on. Other than that, I haven't worked on any cases that I can remember of us representing a celebrity. Now I've sued some celebrities.
Sued him. Who
I've
got caught?
sued their ass.
Who got caught in the crossfire?
So I had a case involving I sued French Montana.
Yeah.
There was a big shooting down there at this place called Finger Licking in Miami where
because they had that video shoot.
he
I
had
saw
a video
that. I saw
shoot.
that.
And I can't, other than that, that's
Yeah.
as much as I can say is I sued
Right.
him. That case is now over.
Yeah.
But I can't say what happened, but
Mhm.
I can just say I sued him.
Yeah. Right.
I sued a restaurant that was involved in a shooting on South Beach where the baby
Mhm.
was shooting. Remember when there was
yeah.
a big shooting down there?
Mhm. Yeah.
My client was shot and
That's
injured.
like a year and a half ago.
It's about a year and a half, or about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, I want to say it was a Memorial Day weekend, like about 2 years ago.
Because that was kind of like at the height. Because Eden kind of fell off, man.
Yeah,
Almost got
I
canceled.
don't even hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so those are the two prominent defendants that I've had.
Right.
Yeah.
Say, man,
yeah.
anybody can get it.
Anybody can. Hey, man,
Anybody
listen.
can get
Anybody can get it, but I don't.
Right.
I'm not going out there looking to sue these people.
Right.
But if I get a client, I'm not shying away because of who the defendant
No,
is.
I got you. You're gonna defend.
Like if I got a case like against Diddy, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's a big one. You know what's going on right now?
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody's going after him. Like even some of the stuff that don't really make sense.
Yeah.
Like the little Rod dude or whoever. I don't
Mhm.
really know his situation. But the Cassies and I
Yeah.
mean these are big claims. These are big
That's
claims.
crazy. And then the statute of limitations, I know some of that stuff is passed, and then some of it is just adding fuel for the ongoing criminals.
The interesting thing that happened with Cassie, up in New York, the statute of limitations had already expired. She
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able
Didn't
to
they
bring
just
that.
change that law though?
So what they did in New York is they made an exception.
Mm.
They said for victims of sexual assault, they've extended the statute of limitations.
Mhm.
They said you got a year. Anybody has claims from back then, you guys have this year to bring these claims.
And that's when all that stuff was like coming up.
That's
This was like a couple
why
of months
people
ago.
were like, yeah. So everyone's like, why did he get
Yeah.
sued like 5, 6, 7 times?
Yeah.
It was because
And
of
there was
that.
some other people too. that
Other
popped out. I was
people
like,
were
man,
getting sued in
everybody
New York
catching
as
it.
well because now I hope they do something like that in Florida because
Yeah.
I mean you got to think about it. Sometimes when you're victimized and you're in high school or you're young and impressionable, you're not thinking about suing
Right.
nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as long as there's some parameters to weed out frivolous lawsuits, I think there's a way to balance the interest where you can have one of those laws like they have up there in New York.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep.
So you've made a lot of money in your short career. What do you find yourself spending most of your money on outside of your wife?
Oh man, outside of my wife, I got a G-Wagon that cost a grip.
Yeah.
Man, it was during the pandemic too.
Oh
when
yeah, and when everybody was trying to flex.
when the cars was,
Yep.
oh my God, it was through the roof. I got a 1 of 100 matte red G-Wagon.
Yeah.
There's only 100 in the country, so I spent some money on that.
Yeah.
But outside of
Would you
that,
say that was your favorite purchase or your house?
my house. I spent on the house. I spent over $2 million
Yeah.
on the house. I love it because it has a basketball court.
Mhm.
It has a huge pool. It's
Yeah.
sitting on almost an acre.
Oh, that's
And it's
straight.
out there in Davie where all the football players
Yeah.
live at. It's LaShawn McCoy's house. So I bought it
Okay.
from him.
Okay.
Shady McCoy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
bought his crib. That's my best purchase.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
best
Yeah.
purchase.
You always got to ask because people, saying was it worth it? Was it like all those times staying up late,
Oh
all
my
the hard
God.
work? Was what was the fruits of your labor?
I almost
People want to
cried
know.
just driving into that neighborhood. It's just surreal.
Hmm.
It's like, and you juxtapose that from where I was raised.
Yeah, I know because I remember a while back you put out like a video like of showing like you like walking through your old neighborhood and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you juxtapose that to
I
where you
still
walking
have
through now.
I know the video talk it's still
Yeah,
on my page, on my
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big one, man. That's
Yeah, man.
definitely different.
Absolutely.
So how's it like you mentioned your wife and saying doing going through your presentation. What kind of how has that brought y'all closer together and are y'all able to kind of like work together from that standpoint? Is it good to just have someone to be able to like, hey man, like hear me out on this, raise be
100%.
be devil's advocate type deal.
Yeah, cause my wife, man, so
Women do see
dude,
things different.
yeah, she really does, and I can't explain it.
Right.
I'm so glad sometimes I let her see stuff before I do it. She'd be
Right.
like,
Where you going
I'm
with this, counselor?
yeah.
Where you going with this, counselor?
Really, really. I mean, even for my presentations that I have in the morning, just simple things like I have this mediation PowerPoint. And I'm showing different clips of my client before he was killed.
Hmm.
And she's just saying, hey, you don't have to put it on every slide a different clip. Why don't you just take some of those clips and put them side by side on the same slide? Little things
Right.
like that. I'm like,
Yeah,
why didn't
like
I think
attention to
of that?
detail type deal.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
little things like that. Or if I'm writing something, she can just say, no, how about you say it this way?
Hmm.
Because her English was her major in college.
Yeah.
So she's really good at writing. She's a beautiful writer.
Hmm.
She proofreads all my big paper or my
Right.
big lawsuits or motions.
Hmm.
She's over there proofreading it and adding different things. She's telling me, "Oh, put a comma here," and all
Hmm.
of that.
Right. Right.
So she's nitpicking, and she's a tough critic,
Hey,
but
that's
it
good
makes it
though.
makes me better.
Oh man. So how do y'all balance that work life balance? How can y'all like shut it off? You know what I'm saying? Or do y'all shut it off?
Yeah, we certainly do because I- at certain times I just say, let's not talk about work.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You don't want to bring work home. Only when it's like if I'm preparing for something big
Hmm.
for the next day or something. But other than that, we're not talking about work. Work
Hmm.
is work, and then personal life is personal life.
Right. Right.
Because having two people when got their JD lawyers in the household, it can be
No,
it
no,
could
I
be
believe
a
very
lot.
strong opinionated people. I
Exactly,
understand.
exactly,
Would you ever
exactly.
let her have plastic surgery if she wanted?
Now I would let her come to Dr. Triggs.
Hey, man,
That's
that's what I'm talking
it.
about. Get it right.
Maybe after, we have our second child or something,
There you go.
so maybe she might need to take some
Hey,
place
man.
off and
Whatever,
put
whatever,
it.
whatever
We'll
y'all want
see.
to do, I'm here for
As
you.
long as I get a discount.
I got you. I mean, I shouldn't be giving you no discount. Cause I got the matte red. I got a $2 million crib in Vegas. You gonna talk about, oh, I ain't paying the five. Like, I ain't
Nah,
paying the
I'm
five.
messing
Nah,
with you,
I
man.
got you,
I
bro.
gotta pay you what you worth. What
Oh
you
man,
worth.
we good. We good over
Yep.
here. So out of all these accomplishments, all the hard work that you put in, man, literally for years, like you got to think about high school, middle school, when you've decided to change your life
Hmm.
around, go into law, all these different things. What has been the most satisfying award or accomplishment, can you say, within your young career? Because I mean, let's keep it a buck, man. You just really getting started.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, you
Um,
you are where some people that's been probably practicing law for decades want to
yep,
be at
yep,
already.
yep, yep.
So what would you say is like that biggest
The
like monumental thing to you or the most satisfying?
you know, this I would say there was one when I was recognized by the Jamaican American Bar Association.
Okay.
And I would say that one was probably the best one for me because my dad was there and
Mm,
my dad is Jamaican,
right.
born and raised. And to see him and they had somebody from like the Jamaican embassy there.
Hmm.
And for my dad to see me recognized amongst, judges,
Hmm.
lawyers, prominent figures from Jamaica, and Wayne Wonder was there
Oh
performing. Yeah,
wow. I
yeah.
love Wayne Wonder.
And I love him, man. And to see my dad shed a tear, that like I think that's probably the thing that sticks out the most.
Man, I bet you that heart was beating. Because could you imagine being in his place and seeing your son going
Yeah,
through it?
you see what
It's
I'm
like,
saying? So that was the moment right there. Another moment that sticks out. It's not an award, but so when I was younger, my brother died by suicide.
right.
He was 12, I was 7. And ever since then, seeing my parents, the grief they went through which helps me in through the cases I'm going through now,
Right.
really recognizing and being able to sympathize with that grief. But my dad created a foundation many years ago, but it was good, felt good to be in a position to
Right.
contribute towards that. So a couple of
Mhm.
years ago, I donated 20,000 to his foundation,
Right.
and in the name of my late brother, that was a good experience as well.
Man.
So those are the two things that really stick
Man,
out.
that's amazing. I can say personally. So my son, at the end of the first grade awards in May, got like outstanding male first grader, and I was like, oh
Wow.
man, I'm super happy. I was able to, it was on a Tuesday, so
Yeah.
I scheduled all my surgeries for late in the day.
Mhm.
Flew to Alabama the night before, and was able to see it. The moment they called his name, bro, I almost started crying. I don't know where it came from because I've been cool, like
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
sitting in the lunchroom. He happy. His sister right next to him, and then as soon as they called his name, I was like, bro, am I about to cry? Like it just came out of nowhere. It was
Yeah.
the most intense feeling I've
Mm.
ever felt because I was just so freaking proud, man. And I don't know where it came from. Like, because the whole time I was thinking about, I was like, oh, my son about to get a big award.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
happy. But when they called his name, it was a whole
Parenthood,
different
man,
experience,
it's
man.
it
It
really
changed
changed
you, right?
it changes you.
And man, for
And
the
I always
better.
hear my mom and dad tell me that, "Oh, you'll see, having a
Yeah,
child."
yeah,
I see now.
yeah.
I see. I
It
thought I
only gets
knew, I
better
thought I
too.
understood. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah. He's 3 years old right now, and
Right.
he's
Because I remember before you had your son, I would tell you about my kids. I was like, bro, watch. You think you love your wife? You think, man,
bruh,
wait till you have kids. It's a whole
I'm
different
obsessed
level.
with this little guy, man.
Yeah, man.
He does little naughty things though. So like I have a pool table in the house. The guy is obsessed with taking pool table balls and then hiding them around the house.
Like Easter eggs or something. Yeah,
And
man.
then you'll just catch him like putting it in his pocket
Yeah.
and running
It's like,
off.
bro, what you doing? What you doing over
I had
here?
some friends come over there. I tried to shoot pool, and the two balls were missing. And he didn't remember where they were. I found them like a week later in the laundry. It's crazy,
Hey, that man
man.
got you. Well, man, Josiah, man, I appreciate you, man, for coming on, man. I'm
Appreciate you,
super
brother.
proud of you, man. If I ain't said it enough, though, I'm in awe, man. Like you are inspiring. I love
Mm.
your story to come from where you come from and to do what you're doing. And then you people don't know, like you super humble
Thank
about
you,
it.
man.
Like
Thank
you
you.
super approachable. Like you said, that lady you met in Publix,
Hmm.
like just and you next thing you know, you in the hood.
Yep,
Like
yep,
people don't know
yep.
these aren't just talking points. This is things that really happen. And
Absolutely,
you're
absolutely.
really a big advocate for the people, man.
And I appreciate you, man, and seeing where you came from and seeing your story and seeing what you've made down here in Miami. I mean, not being from here, coming down here and just kind of taking over, being a prominent plastic surgeon and not just Miami, but in the country, man. I salute you, bro.
I appreciate
Real
it,
talk,
man.
man.
Thank you for
Of
coming in.
course, bro.
So if people want to like get in touch with you, whether it's just to like mentorship or just to hear your story, or even as a potential client, how can they reach out to you or how
So
can they contact
they
you?
can call my law firm at 954-450-4848. They can reach out to me on Instagram at attorney Josiah, Josiah. Reach my website, grahaminjuryfirm.com. And those
Yeah.
three things,
Yeah, we'll
they'll
have the
reach
links
me.
at the bottom. We'll have the links
Absolutely.
at the bottom.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in for Triggs Table Talk. Remember to click like, subscribe. We got some great plastic surgery specials. You know what I'm saying? I got bills to pay. You know what I'm saying? We're running all types of specials at Vixen Plastic Surgery or at Dr. Triggs Miami. Remember, your consultation is completely free. Until next time, stay tuned to Triggs Table Talk.